I don't know how it was for all of you out there, but when I classed someone as my friend, I have never hated on their success. I've never wished bad on them, and I definitely have never stabbed them in the back. Friendship is supposed to be a celebration of your similarities and differences. It means that when you're at your lowest, you know there's a small circle of friends that are actually going to support you, pick you up if you need it, take your mind off all the crap you've had to deal with. What they're not supposed to do is stab you in the back, and I mean that literally. So 21 Savage's brother was stabbed by a former friend just a few yards from his home in Brixton, South London. 27-year-old Terrell Davis, who went by the name TM1way, was killed Sunday night. Reports say he was knifed to death when he went to the shops to buy milk for his grandmother on Blenheim Gardens estate. Now, the estate is by no means a great estate, but it's not exactly a war zone. I mean, the most type of crimes that's committed in the SW area is antisocial behaviour. That's just basically kids or teenagers being a nuisance or inciting a bit of ruckus to the local populace by riding their bikes or hanging outside shops or smoking or playing loud music or, just doing the general silly stuff. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is it's not crime central. So, at some point during the quick trip, it is understood that Terrell Davis and an old friend got into a petty argument that had been long running. Unfortunately, it escalated into violence, and an old friend stabbed him just before 6 p.m. on Sunday. A witness came forward to say that he had seen a friend find Terrell Davis slumped and covered in blood. That friend was the person that held Terrell as he died. Imagine that. Imagine you get a random call and your worst fears are realised, that a friend or someone you associated with stabbed your good friend, and the worst thing about it is you know exactly who did it. The witness clarified that it was a female friend that had come to Terrell's aid. They went on to say that that friend picked Terrell up and called the police, and at this point he was still breathing. That friend did all they could to keep Terrell alive. They spoke to him, they urged him to stay awake, they applied pressure to the wound, and they cried when he cried. Forever, that friend is going to relive those events over and over and over again in their heads. The fact that she had to hold a dying friend until the very last moment. Everything will be etched into her memory, whether she likes it or not. What he was wearing, his blood on her hands and clothes, the way his breathing began to get ragged, etc. Paramedics and police arrived on the scene and did their best to save his life, but they battled in vain. His family was also on the scene at this point too. Ultimately, they were not able to save Terrell's life, and because some person decided that he was going to end a life that day, Terrell's family members had to watch someone they love die in the middle of the street. That means they saw every emotion that could possibly cross a person's face. Pain, grief, anxiety, fear, dread. The emotions would be endless. Again, the person who stabbed Terrell was someone who grew up with. At some point, they were friendly enough to be classed as friends. And it's unfortunate how the situation turned out like this. Essentially, that ex-friend is a snake. Is the worst kind of human being, is a coward. Literally, life is so unforgiving. The place where he died was not even his home. Terrell had joined relatives at his grandmother's house for Sunday dinner. This unfortunate and quite frankly sad situation could not have been pre-planned. This is the second brother of 21 Savages to die. His other brother, Quintavious Joseph, was shot and killed in a botched drug deal in 2014. Now, people want to question, what was Terrell still doing in Brixton if his brother is famous and has a net worth of $12 million? Who knows? And to be honest, that has nothing to do with this shitty situation. Someone lost their life due to some stupid feud that had escalated to a point where one prick thought he had the right to take another person's life. If people actually thought what it would be like to be on the receiving end of a knife blade, I don't think they'd take a life so lightly. It's cowardly. You can't expect to be rated for pulling out a knife and stabbing someone. You've mashed up an entire family's life forever, and now you've mashed up your own life and your family's life. Forever, they're going to be looked at as the family who's linked to the guy that stabbed 21 Savage's brother. When this idiot is serving a double-digit sentence, people will move on and forget about him, like the nobody he is. A Scotland Yard spokesperson said, police are investigating a fatal stabbing after they were called at 59 minutes past 5. on Sunday the 22nd of November by the London Ambulance Service to a location in Ramillies Close, Lambeth, SW2. Officers attended along with colleagues from the London Air Ambulance Service, but the 27-year-old man was pronounced dead at the scene. Condolences to his family. Safe.